Hello, everyone, welcome back. We at Lea Nebula, after presenting part 1 of this series, were not satisfied with our presentation. 1. We rushed through the facts, and seriously edited the information as much as possible, as if we were giving only bullet points. The main purpose of doing that was to keep into account the attention span of the viewer. We had so much extra information, which we finally edited out of the final cut, solely because of this reason. This applies to all our previous videos. From now on, after deliberating for long, on this issue among ourselves, we want to give as much information as possible, even if it means the videos get longer. So that it was not like we were expecting our viewers to catch and hold on to a fast-moving train. The information and facts we have collected from reading and researching innumerable kinds of literature, spanning from translations of pre-Sumerian clay tablets to our latest 1,000 to 2,000 years old, holy books of all major religions. In our research, we have found that every literature and the events that were ever recorded from last 10,000 years, the records of such events were never told to present the facts, to serve as a sieve to separate facts from fiction. But on the contrary, we have found the truth was deliberately cut into bits and pieces and was scattered and spread all over the world, into records of different regions and different civilization, so that no one civilization will know or grasp the entire truth. As if it were, in our opinion, the truth was deliberately concealed, distorted, seriously edited and misinformed so that it may get lost in the drifting sands of time. And anyone who dared to go behind the truth would be led in circles, leading to dead ends or vanishing trails and more often into unknown. This was done to break the confidence of the seeker and force him or her to give up. We realized, only a part of the truth was told in part 1 of the series Why Jerusalem. Our gut feeling was that it couldn't have been so simple a reason for what was happening in Jerusalem. It was only a part of it. The reasons must have reasons behind them. So we dug further and deeper. We went into the dark recesses of this cave system, which was like a maze, where one could lose the sense of direction, a sense of purpose of what is that we set out to do or find. Each dark junction split into multiple other dark tunnels, where you stop and pick a path hoping it leads to somewhere. It was like rolling a dice and take a chance and see what happens. As we were digging into different works of literature, we started to see some common points. Connecting these points, we saw patterns that looked familiar and made sense. We at Lea Nebula have always stressed that the truth can be glimpsed at the points of overlapping junctions of different paths. In this episode we want to share what we think is the reason behind the reason for what is happening in Jerusalem, and how we humans are going to be the only casualties of someone else's war. Pre-diluvial times, time before the Great Flood. The genesis of this conflict goes back 200,000 years ago. That is how far the roots of this never-healing wound goes. 200,000 years ago, Anunnaki headed by half-brothers Enki and Enlil, along with 900 astronauts from planet Nibiru were toiling in the caves of Africa and the Middle East, mining for gold. After a few thousand years of enthusiastic mining, their back began to break. What started as a small complaint turned into a mutiny among their ranks. They put down their tools and wanted to go home. Just then Enki Shiva and his half-sister Ninmah came up with the idea of creating a worker being who could serve Anunnaki, or in other words take their place as laborers in the mining caves of Africa, and be as servants of Anunnaki on Earth. Now we shall see the exact moment that brought about the genesis of this conflict. But before that, we should tell you the circumstances that lead to the formation of this wound. When only Anunnaki walked the earth, that is in Satya Yuga, there were about 600 of them here on Earth and 300 of them were stationed on planet Mars. totaling about 900. The 300 who were stationed on Mars were called Igigi or Watchers. Watchers because, as the name suggests, they watched and ensured the smooth traffic of spaceships carrying gold to and fro from Earth to Nibiru. Their commander was called Tsu. Just like what happened on Earth, the Anunnaki astronauts called Igigi grew sick and tired of the monotonous work they had carried for 100,000 years. So their commander Tsu came from Mars to Earth to meet Enlil and submit their complaint petition. Tsu, unknown to anyone, was nursing a desire to be the king of all Anunnaki in our solar system. One day when Enlil was away for a swim, he sabotaged the Space Command Center in Nibiru, and took away all the data storage devices called MEs, which resulted in the complete breakdown of the entire communication system of all Anunnaki on Earth, and, between Earth and Nibiru, Tsu demanded that he be made king of all Anunnaki in exchange for the stolen discs. Later Ninruta, eldest son of Enlil, captured Tsu and made him stand trial in front of 7 judges. Tsu was found guilty of putting the lives of the entire contingent of Anunnaki astronauts lives in jeopardy, and was sentenced to death. The execution was carried out by Ninruta, and the body of Tsu was buried on Mars, in a place today called Sidonia, next to the monument called the Face of Mars. When this came to pass, the post of the commander of Igigi fell vacant. Enki and Enlil decided to send the eldest of Enki, Marduk, as the new commanding officer to Mars. This was the exact moment the genesis of the conflict began. Marduk, or Ganesha, as the new commanding officer, got down to business immediately. He was a hands-on commander, who became one with his comrades. He got to understand all the problems they were facing, tried and succeeded in improving their working condition, mental and physical health of Igigi Watchers. In fact, the bond between the commanding officer and the Igigi astronauts became so strong, that the Igigi pledged their undying loyalty to their commanding officer Marduk. Once Marduk aka Ganesha came to Earth, to meet his parents, Enki and Damkina. While talking, he mentioned the problem that was really worrying him. He said that the other Anunnaki youth at his age were either married or going to get married, and he feared that he was getting old and would miss having a family of his own. He also said the Igigi also shared the same concern. He asked his parents for a solution. They asked him if he had such a partner in mind. For which Marduk replied, yes. He said that she was the daughter of a high priest of a temple. She was a human. This was the first time an Anunnaki was allowed to marry a human. The wedding was held on Earth. At the wedding, the entire Igigi contingent of 200 astronauts from Mars attended. During the wedding, the Igigi realized that there was a solution to their problem as well. If their commanding officer could marry an Earthling, why can't they? During the wedding, they saw the fair daughters of men and decided to take one each as their wives. They knew that this will not be allowed by their king Anu. So they chose an informal way to solve the problem. They raped 200 maidens after the wedding. In Anunnaki law, rape was condemned by death or banishment. The only escapement would be if the accused married the raped victim if she chooses to marry him. The outcome of which they knew, that is, they will be allowed to marry the human woman. This event was recorded in the Bible, Genesis 6:2, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them, wives, of all which they chose. King James Version. These Igigi astronauts who committed such offense were later characterized as, listen carefully, fallen angels. When Anunnaki interbred with human women, the offsprings were giants, meaning beings of immense size. They were about 20 to 25 feet in height. But as the eons passed, due to our Earth gravity, they slowly started to shrink, and, few thousands of years ago, they attained a size of 12 to 15 feet. They were called by many names over the eons, like Nephilim, Rephaim, Amalekites, Philistines, and so on. Their population spread rapidly. They shared this earth, along with other Anunnaki and human beings. The Nephilim giants were completely loyal to their Anunnaki forefathers Agigis, who in turn were loyal to Marduk. So all Nephilim giants were loyal to Enkiites. They dwelled mostly in present-day Iran, Iraq, Turkey, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and the Sinai Peninsula. Because of their immense physical size and strength, they were formidable warriors and developed superior military skills. They very soon became a force to reckon with, so much so they were even feared by Anunnaki. We shall soon find out why. 100,000 years ago, to Enlil's Inoids, the Anunnaki started to marry the daughters of men and interbred with them. Their offsprings, the giants, turned out to be of great physical strength and formidable military force. Since they were taller and physically powerful than average Anunnaki, even Anunnakis feared them. Giants Nephilim, allegiance lied with their leader Marduk. They belonged to the Enkiite camp. This made Enlil very anxious and distressed. He thought with their strength and military might, that they would one day take over the entire earth, and drive him and his faction of followers out of the earth. Or worse, treat them as secondary citizens. He was given the title Enlil, which meant Lord of Command. Now he was in a situation of losing that title. He thought it was better to act now before it is too late. He concluded the only way to hold on to Earth was to annihilate the giants. He never thought too much of humans. He considered them inconsequential. How could this be achieved, he wondered, given the physical and military strength of giants? Even his sophisticated weapons would be rendered useless, and a regular Anunnaki couldn't fight or kill the giants. Enlil found himself checkmated by the Enkiites, rendered helpless. He complained to his father, King Anu and Nibiru, about this problem, and said he was having sleepless nights because of this. We are going to tell you the following ways that were calculated and deliberate ways, in which Enlil tried to annihilate the giants. Though giants proved to be tough and resilient, this only made Enlil more determined than ever to achieve his goal. Enlil made it his life's mission to annihilate the giants, since they were the main source of strength of Marduk the Enkiite. The first attack on giants by Enlil. Around 12,000 to 13,000 years ago, there came a time when planet Nibiru's orbit came close to the Sun. Nibiru is 10 times in size of Earth. Due to its immense size, its gravitational force would affect all the planets in our solar system, especially the inner planets. Earth was at that time just coming off its routine ice age. Its ice caps were huge. These huge ice caps, at each pole, were slowly melting, due to the warming of the weather. Anunnaki, who had astronomical observatories in the tip of Africa, studied the path of the approaching Nibiru, and what effects it would have on Earth. They concluded that, to inevitable proximity of two planets, the immense size of Nibiru would exert a huge gravitational force on Earth's oceans and melting ice caps. Nibiru's gravity would force the ice caps to slip into the oceans, resulting in huge tsunami waves. These waves would rise even higher and will be held by Nibiru's gravity, like a huge blanket. And the Earth, rotating, on its own axis would automatically wrap itself with this huge wall of water, thus creating catastrophic floods on the surface. This data was received by the Anunnaki from their Earth's observatories and satellites in space. So you see that this event was a natural phenomena, and the floods were not created by a famous god as told in popular literature. These catastrophic floods, which are going to envelop the entire globe, is going to drown, destroy and annihilate anything and everything in its path, even Anunnaki if they dared to stay and face it. Enlil saw a golden chance in the fast and inevitable approaching catastrophe. He quickly called for a meeting and assembled all Anunnaki on Earth, and told them to swear on their honor that they would not disclose this matter to any giant or human. He said, "Let us use this golden chance, given by nature to rectify our mistakes." The mistake he is talking about is the creation of man and giants. He went on further to say, "Let us not try to save the human and Nephilim giants by informing them about the floods. I want all of you assembled here to swear on your honor that you will keep this a secret till the catastrophe is over. Let us all have a fresh start." Enlil, Vishnu, wanted things to return as they were in the beginning of time. That is the time when only Anunnaki walked the earth. All the assembled Anunnaki members took the oath to keep this secret, including Enki. But Enki, Shiva, saw the prejudice of Enlil, and saw a way in which mankind could leap over even this catastrophe of global floods.
Quote from the Bible. Genesis 6:13. Then God said to Noah, "The end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence because of them, and behold, I am about to destroy them with the earth." Ezekiel 13:13. Therefore, thus says the Lord God, I will make a violent wind break out in my wrath. There will also be in my anger a flooding rain and hailstones to consume it in wrath. Luke 17:27. They were eating, they were drinking, they were marrying, they were being given in marriage, until the day that Noah entered the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all.
These words were spoken by Enlil Vishnu. The sins he is talking about is how humans were unnecessarily created in the first place. And they, Humans, instead of serving Anunnaki, for which they were created, were busy forming village, towns, and turned their attention to the self-indulgence of having family and children. This was unacceptable to him. His antagonism against humans was not ill-founded. He had good reasons for it. Part of it was fueled by humans themselves. Anunnaki were here on Earth, on a scientific and exploration mission. Instead, it turned out, they somehow created a zoo with human animals in it, and become zookeepers. He observed they Anunnaki somehow completely lost the objective of their mission on Earth. He also observed that humans were the most ungrateful species, who question authority, and bite the very hands that feed them. Now this is how Enki Shiva tried and saved the human race, which was recorded in the Bible and Puranas of Hindu literature. In Hindu Puranas, Noah is called Manu, the first created human being. It is from his name, term man is derived. You must be confused. We said Shiva saved Noah. But in Hindu literature, it is recorded as Vishnu saved Manu or Noah. We will create and explain this particular incident in a separate video. All followers of Yahweh, Enlil, Vishnu, are termed in all kinds of literature as gods, devas, and angels. And followers of Shiva, Enki, were very selectively, as the situation required, were termed as Hasuras and demons. It is observed in our research that Enkiites, followers of Shiva, were polite in their dealings but aggressive when the situation demanded. While as Enlilites, followers of Vishnu, were more inclined to show violence, power, and were more prolific in insulting their enemies by name-calling.
A righteous man, Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. Genesis 6:8. Thus, when God beheld the corruption of the earth and determined to destroy it, he gave Noah divine warning of the impending disaster and made a covenant with him, promising to save him and his family. Noah was instructed to build an ark, and in accordance with God's instructions, he took into the ark male and female specimens of all the world's species of animals, from which the stocks might be replenished. Isaiah 43:2. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they will not overflow you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be scorched, nor will the flame burn you.
These words were spoken by Enki Shiva. He wisely kept his promise to Enlil, and also forewarned humans, Noah, in advance about the great floods, and gave Noah necessary instruction on how to build a huge boat and save most of the species on earth. All holy literatures, though they speak of one creator God, are but a collection of stories performed by different individual beings. That is more than one God. It was up to the author and editor of these holy books to put which individual's action under the heading of God, and which individual action to be termed as work of the devil. After the deluge, it was found that a sizable number of humans had saved themselves during the floods even without the intervention of gods. This is very important. Listen carefully. A sizable number of humans in South America, Central Asia, and Australia had saved themselves by going to the higher grounds, and saved themselves from floods. No god saved them. Anunnaki themselves have recorded this fact in their annals. So this way both humanity and giants survived the floods and wrath of Enlil's first attack.
These words were spoken by Yahweh. Genesis 9:1 and 6. And God blessed Noah and his sons, and said to them, Be fruitful, and multiply, and replenish the earth. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be on every beast of the earth, and on every fowl of the air, on all that moves on the earth, and on all the fishes of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered. Every moving thing that lives shall be meat for you, even as the green herb have I given you all things. But flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall you not eat. And surely your blood of your lives will I require, at the hand of every beast will I require it, and at the hand of man. At the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. Whoever sheds man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God made he man.
Igigi astronauts, also called watchers in biblical terms, were stationed on Mars. These Igigi watchers, when they married human women and interbred, their descendants were called Nephilim. It is these Igigi Anunnaki astronauts who are called the fallen angels in Bible. The term angel is used to any soldier or working member of Anunnaki, other than royal family members. The royal family members are called gods in all popular religious literature. When we read that the angels can fly, means that these Anunnaki worker being had some sort of advanced power jets that could be strapped to their backs that allowed taking off and landing, carry them from one place to another. These power jets in its initial form can also be found in our present time. These descendants were called by many names like Nephilim before the floods, and Rephaim during the post-floods period. Few eons after the deluge, the population of giants and humans slowly grew. These giants were semi-divine. It is the same giants who are called Asuras in Hindu literature. Asuras have always been keen devotees of Lord Shiva or Enki. They were semi-divine because they were born to human mother by divine fathers or Anunnaki. These giants occupied the most tract of land on earth, predominantly near Egypt, Sinai Peninsula, and Transjordan area. These giants were for a few fleeting years dedicated to Nannar-Sin, the eldest son of Enlil. But when their cities were destroyed in 2024 BC, they lost all fealties to the legitimate authority of that period and became independent marshals of the western land. Those cities of Rephaim and Nephilim that were destroyed were Sodom and Gomorrah. This was the second attack of Enlil on the giants, which we will present in part 3 of this series. In the initial part of this video, we had referred to the exact instant that the genesis of this conflict, which is still reverberating with the same intensity in Jerusalem as it did 200,000 years ago. If Marduk wouldn't have gone to Mars, he wouldn't have met Igigis. If they would have met Marduk, they wouldn't have attended his wedding. If they wouldn't have attended the wedding, and saw the fair beautiful daughters of man, they wouldn't have raped them and interbred with them. The giants wouldn't have been born. Since somehow it seems it was destined to happen, the circumspection of which, even the gods Anunnaki seem to have missed. Marduk took giants' fealty to him and used it to propel his agenda of total world dominance, and to give his father Enki Shiva a rightful place and respect in history, which he so rightfully deserved, but was deceitfully denied. He was not spiritual, transcendental, unworldly, forgiving being like his father, who was taken full advantage of by his enemies. He was determined to talk in the same language as his enemies. Anunnaki were the one to use the first nuclear weapons on Earth. They were desperate to take back control on Earth, only the giants were the obstacle in their way. Anunnaki were, with all their technological might, were inferior to skills of warfare displayed by giants. The giants had them on the back foot. The giants were going to take control of the Space Command Center located in the Sinai Peninsula. In last-ditch effort, Anunnaki led by Enlil, Yahweh, dropped nuclear weapons on the cities of giants Sodom and Gomorrah. Last to fall was Jericho. Hiroshima and Nagasaki were not the first recipients of the hydrogen atomic bombs dropped on Earth. We shall see how this fight continues to present-day Jerusalem. In Part 3.